Good evening, good people. Welcome to another 203K Tuesday. I'm your host, Aaron, the house person, and this is the place you come to find out everything you don't know about the 203K loan and learn how you can use that loan to help create, build, and sustain generational wealth. So, like always, I talk about your starting lineup, right? You got to have those core people on your team in order to help you navigate the 203K process as successfully as possible. You're only as strong as your weakest link, right? So you want to vet the people up front as much as you can. And hopefully through that vetting process, you'll go ahead and, you know, assemble a pretty strong team because again, you are the owner, you are the GM, you are the coach, right? The buck stops with you. And although this is something that most of you are not familiar with, haven't gone through things of that nature, this is why I say, having that strong realtor as your point guard is very critical because they will assist you with putting together the rest of your team. And as you go through the process, making sure your team stays engaged. And of course, this is on the buy side, right? If you're somebody who's refinancing, you're not going to reach out to a realtor. You'll go ahead and start with the lender, your shooting guard, that person who's going to score you the funds, right? That bank shot is what you need. But today, I have the pleasure of coming on to the show, Mr. Clayton Miller with Makeover Homes. He is that four, right? Well, he's a little more than that, but started out as that four, that power forward, that contractor who's in the paint, getting down and dirty, making your reality come to fruition, right? So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in now. Clayton.
We're here.
Good morning. How we doing today?
Fantastic.
Good. So really appreciate you coming on to the show and, spending some time with us today. What I typically like to do is just kind of just jump right into the questions. And then, because, through that process, a lot of times what normally happens in the intro will be discussed or shared through the questioning process. And then from there, we'll just talk about real estate, your business, you, and just anything real estate related. That's cool?
Perfect. Works for me.
All right. Let me grab. So the first question is, do you know the 203K process from start to finish, and have you worked with this loan before?
Yeah, I would say we know the process pretty well. We've worked with the loan from being the actual client standpoint, from the realtor standpoint, from the contractor standpoint, from the HUD consultant standpoint. And we've never actually been the lender. I don't have my, broker's license. But I've worked with enough different folks to have a pretty good idea of how that part works as well. So yeah, we're pretty familiar with it.
Okay. So sticking with the contracting side, are you licensed, bonded, and insured in the state and area that you're working in?
Yes. So in Indianapolis, you have to have a license. But that's actually the only county. Marion County in Indiana is the only one you have to have a license in. So my partner and I are both licensed, bonded, insured in Marion County. But that also gives us access to run all over Indiana, down in Bartholomew County in the Columbus area where I live and work the most. It's not required, but certainly one of those things that when you're out looking for a contractor to run a 203K for you, you want to look for and you want to have.
So not required outside of Marion County.
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting one. Every state's different. Every county's different. Some counties require it. Some lenders don't need it. The majority of lenders that we work with basically just suggest that whatever that county's rules are, you follow those rules. So if you don't need a license, you don't need a license. But most people require the insured portion. That's pretty standard.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you have any additional credentials, certifications, or belong to any type of professional organizations, anything like that?
I'm also a realtor. So I'm a realtor, licensed contractor. My main partner is licensed realtor, licensed contractor, and then he is a HUD consultant and inspector as well. So he and I make a pretty good team together. I was telling you earlier, my partner's off doing some HUD consulting work this morning, which is why we're missing Tom today. But those are the main things. You know, some people have a lead certification, some people have some other mold certifications. That's not the kind of stuff that we handle. We can sub out those pieces, so we just hold on to the big pieces. We are a part of Keller Williams Realty Group, and within that, there's all kinds of different groups you can be a part of. But outside of that, other than local investor groups and things like that, that's about it. It's the basics.
Okay. Okay. So how long have you and Tom, I guess, been in the business and running your own crew?
Um, so Tom's about, I think he's mid 40s. So he's a little bit older than me. He's been in the contracting space for 20 plus years, I believe. Been in the HUD consulting space for 10 to 15 years. So he's been doing it quite a while. Myself, I started working as an investor. Just wanted to buy some properties. I was into the bigger pockets. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I got into the investing space when I had a roommate move in who is a carpenter. And that would have been, right after college, 6-7 years ago, is when I started, physically doing it myself. And then it took us 3-4 years. We did a bunch of flips. We did the burr strategy. We own a couple rentals now. Then we built a couple duplexes from the ground up. That was a pretty serious undertaking. And we did it part-time and on the weekends. So evenings and weekends, building 2 duplexes from the ground up was a pretty serious undertaking for a couple guys. And we did the majority of the work. We subbed out drywall, siding, and a roof. And I think that was about it. So it was a lot. So that taught me a ton. It took us like 1.5 years to do it because we did it part-time, but I learned so much. And this would have been 3 or 4 years ago, probably. And around that time, I ran into Tom. Actually, I was working in advertising full-time. And then I ran into Tom because I saw his program, this Makeover Mortgage. And I saw his program and I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. Like, I want to help him advertise for that. So I pitched him 1 year. He wasn't into it. I pitched him the next year. He wasn't into it. He's a tough guy to sell. And finally, it was like, I think the 3rd or 4th year, I was going back and he goes, hey, what are you doing? You seem to be interested in this process. You run marketing. I need a marketing guy. I also need a guy who has your background. It was kind of hard to find for him to find a partner who was an entrepreneur, a self-starter, a realtor, knows the contracting space. Like, it was a very specific puzzle piece, so to speak, that he was looking for. And he actually posted it online. He posted, hey, I'm looking for this person to do, to run marketing, maybe run a crew, help me build this thing. And I saw it and I go, that's a really cool looking position. So I shared it. I go, somebody's going to want to do this. It didn't even pop into my head. That's my spot, So I shared it, and a couple people, reached out asking for Tom's info and blah, blah, blah. And finally it dawned on me. I woke up one morning and I said, that's my spot. So I called Tom and was like, man, sign me up. Let's go. So we partnered up. This would have been 3-ish years, I think, 3-ish years ago. It took me about 1 year to kind of transfer from full-time day job in an office to full-time working with Tom and building this thing. And then 2 years ago, we rebranded, came up with the Makeover Homes, and all the different pieces to that puzzle. And we've been clicking ever since. So to make a long question a short answer, he's been in the game 25 or so years, and I've been in the game like 6 or 7, I think, now that I think about it. So between the two of us, we've got a pretty good amount of time and blood, sweat, and tears pushed into it, for sure.
Okay. Cool. That's pretty funny. You were pitching from the marketing standpoint, but then when a different and larger position came from that same source you were pitching to, you passed the rock to somebody else. Here you go.
I did. I was like, oh my gosh, this position sounds sweet. Maybe one of my like carpenter contractor buddies is going to want to go do this.
Mhm.
And I started sharing it and saying how cool it'd be. And I was like, quit giving your spot away, man. That's your spot. Go get it.
It really was. It really
Yeah.
is. So okay. Well, glad you stepped into your role. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tom is as well. So
Yeah.
good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal. So, what would you say is the most complicated 2 or 3K project that you've worked on? And if you know Tom's as well, you can share that one too.
Most complicated. Well, being complicated kind of goes against what we do. Our job is to make them not complicated. Yeah, our job is to make them not complicated.
Right.
I would say the majority of the complications that we see are jobs that we weren't originally asked to do when the project started.
Okay.
And that's kind of one of the things that we harp on, and why we think that our process is really cool about streamlining it from A to Z, is because even today, a big chunk of the work that we get done, or that we get asked to do, is a loan officer or a realtor, sometimes a client, but it's typically one of the professionals who's not part of our network, who got themselves into a project. Let's say I'm or a lender. Let's say I'm the lender on this project for a client. Well, as you know, probably from doing this, doing the show and then doing as many projects as you have, the contractor piece is kind of that's the tough one. There's a lot of contractors out there, and they have a bad stigma. And to be honest, I hate that there's a bad stigma out there, but it's also kind of nice for us who are good, because if you're a good contractor, you return phone calls, you get bids put on time, and you do good work, you're going to be successful. Period. End of story. Yep. So we run into bad contractors oftentimes. A lender will say, hey, I've got this client, they've got a house under contract. They closed on their loan. There's this big $150,000 bid that we're getting ready to do. And the contractor just realized that that's coming out of their pocket, and they don't get paid until first draw. And can you step in and help us out? And we're like, probably, but we got to take a look at this. The loan's already closed, so you can't really change the bid. So now we're working within those parameters. Well, unfortunately, a lot of contractors also underbid things in order to get the job. So then we open up, we crack open this bid and go, okay, here's what you thought you were going to get done. Here's what we can actually do. So I don't know that there's been any like crazy complicated projects to do, but what we do a lot of is come in and clean up, so to speak, what another contractor has walked away from, bailed on. That's the other thing we run into every once in a while. Contractor will start a job, they'll get their first pay and then disappear. And now we got to come in. Yeah. So now we got to come in, look at what's left of their bid, cut it into the pieces necessary to get it up to FHA standards, or to get it at least mainly livable, and basically fix what this other contractor has broken. Wow. That's what we've kind of determined is the trickiest spot of this whole thing, is getting the right contractor who knows what they're signing up for, knows what they're doing, has a good bid, all the pieces, and finishes that project. So I'd say that's where we run into the majority of the complications from us getting a call to go fix something standpoint. When they run through us, A to Z, squash them. These are contractors. Everybody that works with us, they've done 100 projects. They know the deal. They know how it goes, and we get jobs done. So I'd say that's the most complicated piece, or at least the piece that's most complicated that we've noticed over the years.
Okay, interesting. And that's pretty good, because if you ask most people who is what part of the team is probably the one that's going to cause the most problems, oftentimes they do point to the contractors.
They do.
And that, whether that be because it takes forever to get paperwork in, they might be good at the work, but the paperwork is, something that's equally important. as far as timelines and things of that nature. And
Right.
that's one of the major complaints. And then also getting in over your head, underbidding, things of that nature, just to try to get the job. Like you do see a lot of that, unfortunately. And
Right.
unfortunately, you do see the bailing as well for whatever, that reason may be.
Right. And those aren't specific to 203Ks
Correct.
or home style loans. That's
Right.
just contractors in general.
Mhm.
But what we notice a lot of is that the contractor's not educated on what they're going to have to do financially to
Mhm.
run a 203K,
Yes.
and they don't find that out until they close and day one's getting ready to start, and they go, "Where's my down payment?"
Mhm.
Well, that's not how this works. It's not there.
No.
And then they freak out and they go, "I'm not doing this. I can't get X amount of dollars behind. I got to pay guys on Friday, blah, 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 blah." And they end up walking away. I can't do this, whatever it might be. And that's when we get a phone call that says, "Hey, can you guys do it, or do you got a guy?" And we typically say yes if we're able to. So, yeah.
So I guess you guys are gonna have to like add a cape to your outfits now moving forward. Well, not
Uh,
forward, but since it sounds like you've been doing that. So some type
yeah.
of bat signal or something. So
Hmm.
get you in there when they need you in there to save the day. So
Right. Well, and that's one of the reasons we created this whole process, is because we got tired of doing that. Like, sure, we'll come in and we'll help and we'll save the day, but it's really difficult to take somebody's bid that someone else put together and figure out, okay, well, that was underbid, this was overbid.
mhm,
How can we basically create a whole new bid with the same dollar
mhm,
to get you the house that you want? And it's time consuming. It oftentimes doesn't pay very well because we're kind of playing catch up, so to speak, with a bid that's too small. The client's not totally happy because they're not getting everything they originally asked for. So it's not a good situation for anybody.
right.
So by running through our whole process, we know that they're set up properly from a lending standpoint. The realtor helped them find the house that fits the parameters. The contractor put together a proper bid, and they can get the whole thing done right the first time. Because the less we have to use our capes, so to speak, the better. More people are happy. More people are getting what they want. So that's what really blossomed the whole process from A to Z.
Okay, gotcha. Now, as far as permits, there, I'm not sure what your process is, but like how many permits would you say you guys have pulled throughout the processes or throughout all the jobs? And I mean, it's a rough number, and let's maybe just say like the last year. How many permits would you say you guys have pulled?
Well,
Roughly.
woo.
Okay,
I would,
that's high. That's a high number.
yeah. I mean, if you do 25 jobs
Mhm,
in a year, you're pulling at least a permit for each, if not 2 to 3, depending on what mechanicals looks like,
mhm,
um, and so forth. And that's just the jobs that we physically had to go ask for. These aren't the jobs that because we have a referral network of contractors. So this wouldn't include our other clients that had contractors pull permits.
mhm.
I don't know, 100 last year,
Okay, good deal.
um, would
So
be a guess.
basically, that means you guys are very good at pulling permits. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's not the difficult part at all. Really, that's the easy. Honestly, that's the easiest part of the whole game. Hey, what do
Okay,
you need done? Go in there and ask for it, and put a couple $100 on the table and walk out.
gotcha. And of course, depending on where you go, the permitting process can be, it could be streamlined or it can be like trying to pull that wisdom tooth out the back. So,
Yes.
but
Well, we've done enough. We know enough names. They know us. So when we walk in there, we already know what form to fill out. We know how much it costs. Here's your form. Here's the fill out. See you on Thursday. Move on.
good deal. So you guys currently working on any 203K projects?
Oh yeah. Um, Now I know we're kind of looking at this from a contractor standpoint. I think we've got still left in the hopper like 3 or 4 jobs that we have currently running, that we are the contractor on.
Mhm.
From a how many clients do we have currently in the process, whether we be the contractor, the HUD consultant, or the realtor, we're probably north of 40. So, and that includes people who are currently shopping for the home, people who are currently in renovation for the home, getting HUD draw requests and in progress. So that's from A to Z, people who are currently going through the process trying to get it done. But in contracting in HUD space, yeah, we're probably in the 30 plus range.
Okay. Okay. Now, sticking to the contractor space,
Yeah.
would you guys be financially capable of taking on any more 2 or 3K loans right now?
We're financially capable, yes. But we are not personally, as in, Clayton, Miller, and Tomahawk, we are not personally going to be taking on any more jobs ourselves. What we've figured out is that people need help from a concierge standpoint or from a mentor standpoint on how to get all the way through this project. So rather than actually doing and just focusing on the contractor piece, we are now going to be referring that piece out. So we've got a list of preferred contractors that have signed up with us to be part of our team, so to speak. So when we have a client that's ready for a contractor, we figure out what it is they want, where they're located, what the price point looks like, what they want done, because not everybody can put on a new roof. Not everybody can do custom cabinets. So it depends on what they want done. And then we're able to get them the contractor that's going to fit that bill. So financially speaking, we could, but we don't plan to. But financially speaking, all of the contractors that we recommend to folks and refer to folks are all more than financially capable of taking on projects, multiple projects at a time. A lot of our contractors run anywhere between, we've got some that run 2 to 3, we've got others that run 6 to 10. It kind of depends on which one you're talking to, how big their team is, all the above. But at any time, we'll have somebody who can take on a job.
Okay, good deal, good deal. So as far as the jobs that you guys have done, and I know, you guys aren't in that space or trying to operate in that space anymore, but if someone was to say, hey, can I take a look at previous jobs? Is there like a source for them to go check out previous pictures or?
Yeah, we're working on developing that a little bit better. But our Instagram page, okay, Makeover Homes, is a great space. That Instagram feed is also on the bottom of our website. So if you go to makeover-homes.com, you scroll to the bottom, there's an Instagram feed that's constantly updating you with new projects going on, new projects that have ended, closed, short videos, just talking about the process or talking about houses for sale, whatever it might be. So I'd say the best place is makeoverhomes.com. Scroll to the bottom and you'll see our Instagram feed that you can click through and scroll through and kind of see what we've been doing over the last couple of years, really.
Okay. And if someone wanted to speak with like previous clients, would they be able to do that? Would you, have some referrals? And again, you guys are not really operating in that space anymore, but, if you were and someone wanted to say, hey, can I talk to some old clients just to make sure they got what they wanted, make sure, they were satisfied and how they vibe with you guys and how they felt about the process. Would you be able to provide that for them?
For sure. We've got clients that can do that. We also have realtors that could do that, lenders that could do that. Because not just from the client standpoint, but you want to know that the lender can get along with your contractor, the realtor can get along with your contractor, because if there's anything in the HUD consultant is very important. So you want to make sure all those folks can get along with your contractor, because if they don't, the process is going to be slow. People aren't going to get the stuff they need on time and all of the above. So we would have clients. We also have the other professionals that are pieces of the puzzle that would certainly say we can get the job done.
Okay. All right. Well, that wraps up the 10. But so you said you started out in the marketing space.
Yes.
You were pitching to Tom a couple of years, and pretty much he was getting it out of here like Matumbo.
Yep, that's exactly what he's doing.
And then he finally realized he needed some help, put it out there in the atmosphere, and then instead of initially receiving it, you were throwing it out to other people.
Yep.
To see if they were interested, and then realize, hey, that spot's for me. Like it came to me because it's for me, and then
Right.
went ahead and stepped into that role. Um, so since then, and I know you said Tom kind of already had Makeover Mortgage, if
Yep.
I'm not mistaken, had that already established, and then you came in, you guys rebranded to Makeover Homes,
Yep.
Makeover Dash Homes, and so from there, can you? Because we kind of talked about it a little bit, but can you really just let folks know what exactly they can find when they come to makeover-homes.com?
For sure. Yeah, so Tom had already kind of laid out what he wanted. Tom is a very giant idea person. He
Mm-hmm.
sees the golden egg at the end.
Right.
And I'm kind of the piece, and this is how partnerships often go. I'm the piece that looks at what is the next step. What is the very next thing that needs done to get this thing moving?
Mm-hmm.
So Tom has this grandiose idea that we're getting through. And thus at that point, he had the Makeover Mortgage process trademarked as, here's what we're going to call this thing, because the 203K isn't sexy. 203K is not one that's fun to hear. It's not one that's fun to say. The majority of lenders, realtors, and contractors that hear 203K immediately turn their nose up. So the Makeover Mortgage process really uses a 203K or a home style or some form of renovation loan. We just don't want to call it that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We want to call it the Makeover Mortgage, and whether that be a 203K or a conventional home style, so be it. But we wanted a nice, sexy name for the process.
Mm-hmm.
So he already had Makeover Mortgage put together. But what we didn't have was a name for a realty team. It was 360 Realty at the time, is what Tom had already started. Because Tom owned a couple, I think it was FC Tucker franchises in this past years. He's done all kinds of stuff. And then he had his own called 360 Realty. And then we had a contracting company called Economical Contractors. And then the HUD consultant space was just Tom Mahalik HUD Consulting. So it didn't really have a nice mesh to it. So yeah, me with my marketing background, I worked in digital advertising for 6 or 7 years, I think it was. I came in and I saw, okay, how can we really mold this bad boy together? How can we make this thing feel a lot nicer? So the Makeover Mortgage was easy. That's the lending arm of the process, so to speak. Well, we're already using the word makeover. So is Makeover Realty an option? Popped online, you got to check your GoDaddies, you got to check your LLC opportunities, you got to look at everything. Right. Makeover Realty is an opportunity. Okay, Makeover Realty is going to be where we put the realty staff, the realty team, and we help people find the homes. The Makeover Mortgage side is obviously where we help people get pre-qualified for the house they're going to go buy. And then on the Makeover Renovations side is where the contractors are. So that was a tricky one. We looked at Makeover Contracting and Makeover Contractors and Makeover Flips and all the above to try to figure out what that was going to be. Makeover Renovations, again, was one of those. GoDaddy had it available. The LLC in Indiana had it available. We didn't really know of any others, so we grabbed that one. And then the fourth wing is Makeover Consulting and Inspections. So that holds the HUD consulting piece, the inspection piece, and gets that piece done. So it's renovations, mortgage, realty, consulting, inspections. And then I'm a one-man show from a marketing standpoint at the moment. We hope to grow, and there'll be somebody that can run each wing. But we needed a mothership from a marketing standpoint because I just don't have the bandwidth. Any one person, not just me, any one person doesn't have the bandwidth to run 4 websites, 4 Facebooks, 4 Instagrams, 4 LinkedIn's, all of the above. It's just too much.
Right.
Ultimately, we'd love to get to that point. But at the moment, I was like, we need a mothership that captures and holds this whole thing. And that's where Makeover Homes came from. So Makeover Homes is the main parent brand to the other wings. Gotcha. And we rebranded like a year and a half ago, I think it probably was. And it's been awesome ever since. It's really given us a way to work with each hat on, so to speak, all coming from the same place. And then to kind of dive into your next or the other part of your question, which was, what do you find on our website? On our website, we want you to be able to get whichever piece to this puzzle you need. Ultimately, we'd like you to start at the beginning. We want you to come in, work with one of our preferred lenders to get pre-qualified. Once you get pre-qualified, we're going to send you to, or become one of your, send you to one of our preferred realtors, or we'll become the realtor ourselves. I work down in Columbus. Tom works up in Indianapolis. So if it's something that we feel comfortable, hey, we can really help out this client by finding them their home, have the time, all the above, we'll operate. If it's something that's far away, we don't know the area quite as well, whatever it might be, then we can refer you to one of either the realtors on our team or a Makeover preferred realtor. This is somebody who's gone through our course, knows what to do, knows how to shop, all the above. So we'd like you to come get pre-qualified, work with us or one of our lenders, and then we're going to send you the contractor that's going to fit your job. So, and if need be, if you're doing a FHA, we're going to be your HUD consultant as well. So you can come to our website, press a button, tell us which pieces to the puzzle you need, press go, and then somebody's going to give you a shout, let you know how we can do that. Like I said, we'd love to start and run the process all the way through. That's the easiest. But if you've already got a lender, you've already got a realtor, just need a contractor, we'll help with that piece. You've already got a lender, already have a contractor, but need a realtor, we'll help with that piece. So whichever piece of the puzzle is needed at that time, we're here to take care of it for you.
Okay, so one-stop shop. I like it.
One-stop shop.
I like it. So, okay, you said Tom pretty much deals with the macro and you handle the micro, and that just, completes the team.
That's why we work.
That's a good deal. That's a good
deal.
Man, okay. Yeah, no, that's good stuff. That makes it really, again, streamlined. So it's very important, like I tell folks, about having that strong team. And if you have multiple pieces together in the same location or affiliates all under the same, roof, and they've all gone through certain trainings and just really understand the process, that puts people in a position where they're better off as they start to go through that process themselves, and more than likely will enjoy it and find it, extremely successful. So that's great. But then at the same time, if they just need a one-off here, one-off there, hey, I got you covered.
Right. Right. Well, and a big part of what we do is the education piece, which is kind of what you're doing. And there's a couple other groups that we're aware of that are just trying to educate people on the process. It's one of those things that the majority of people don't know is an option.
Right.
The overwhelming majority of folks that I say, hey, have you ever thought about doing a 203K and rolling your renovation into the mortgage when you buy this thing? And I get deer in the headlights looks like, oh my gosh, that's an option.
Right.
I mean, it's not just from clients. It's from realtors don't know it's an option. Contractors don't know it's an option. Even some lenders, because not all lenders, will do a 203K or we'll do a renovation loan. Even some lenders are like, I'm not really familiar with those. I haven't really done one of the above. So one of the biggest roles of that we take on is the coach, the mentor of here's how this process works. Here's what each individual piece needs to do for you. And here's somebody that can do that piece. But really explaining to people how it works, why it works, and why it's the best way to shop. We believe it's the best way to shop for a new house. We don't know why you would want to shop any other way. Do you want to have one option or two? It's that easy.
I love it, and I completely agree. It is the best way to shop.
Yeah. If you walk into a house and it just needs some new carpet, but you don't have another, $5, $6, $7 grand to pull out of your pocket to put down on that thing, toss it into the mortgage, get your new carpet, maybe some trim done before you move in, and get rid of a bunch of those hassles that the majority of people move into their house and have to do. Yep. Because I think you could probably send out a poll, and we should probably do this and say, hey, how many of you folks have purchased a new home and just moved in? Outside of new construction, of course. How many purchased a home and just moved in? You didn't paint, you didn't change the carpet, you didn't change any of the other floors, you didn't do new countertops, something happened, you changed something, new roof. a lot of people don't know you can just roll a new roof into your mortgage rather than taking the risk and saying, hey, take $20,000 off the purchase price, because that doesn't hit somebody's, cash bottom line. It's just coming off their mortgage, but that didn't put that 20 grand in their pocket
Right.
to fix that roof in 2 years when it starts to leak. So with this process, it's, hey, yeah, we'll take 20 grand less on the purchase price, but we're going to roll that 20 right into our mortgage and put that new roof on before we move in. So a lot of people that have heard of it and do use it look at it more, the HGTV style, Chip and Joanna Gaines, go in, rip walls out, tear it down to the floor, and like really overhaul a house, which we can do. You can certainly do that. And it's a lot of fun and it's exciting. But there's a lot more, or there's another way more practical purpose, which is my roof is toast, the water heater's too old, and the garage doors don't work.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't big, flashy, I'm going to post them on Instagram items, but they're a pain in the butt and they cost a lot of cash to get done after you purchase a home.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing that we think a lot of people don't really pay attention to and don't focus on is, what I just rattled off is 30 grand. So if we can give people the ability to go buy that house that they were otherwise too afraid to do, didn't have enough cash to do because they couldn't afford to buy it and then pay for all the renovations, now they can do it. They can accomplish it. And if you shop the traditional way, where you just have a mortgage to go buy a house, it significantly cuts the amount of homes that you can look at and you can purchase because you don't have the option. So we think it's a no-brainer. If you can shop two different ways, one's the traditional way and one's the makeover way, it's obvious that one of those is better than the other.
Absolutely. And as far as that roof is concerned, definitely a big ticket item and something that I find that people say, hey, I'll just call my homeowner's insurance. And that isn't hassle. Like you really don't want to be relying on your homeowner's insurance policy to get your roof replaced.
Right.
Because you're going to go through the ringer.
Right.
So if you can get that done before you move into the home, it's just a peace of mind situation that's absolutely priceless in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So great point. Absolutely great point.
Right.
So let me see. You mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad and how you guys started. I think you said college roommate.
It was actually a elementary and high school roommate.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I went to college, came back.
Gotcha. So sandbox person, and I believe you said they were a carpenter, and then you kind of jumped in from there and started, I guess, learning from them. Okay.
Yeah. So I, went to high school, went to college. I got a degree in economics, but while I was there, I did a bunch of reading and trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Because economics is like as broad as it could be. What do you do with an economics degree? But anything, whatever. But I've also always been relatively entrepreneurial. So I started researching, trying to figure out like where is wealth? Where's the majority of wealth in this nation, but in the world? And the more I read and the more I discovered, I would talk to friends, family friends, other professionals, and like 70 to 80% of them said real estate. If they could go back and start all over, they would figure out how to be in the real estate space, because we're going to keep making people, and people always need a place to live. So the real estate space is here forever. It's where vast wealth is created. Generational wealth can be created with the real estate space. It's a phenomenal vehicle to use. So I said, okay, now with that, what am I going to do with it? I didn't really have any previous, we'll call it handyman or carpenter, plumber, electrician skills. But I knew a thing or two from my economics degree, knew a thing or two about financing. So I said, okay, well, how can I leverage what I know and what I can figure out with the other pieces to the puzzle? Well, I moved back home and I bought my first house. After reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I bought my first house knowing that I wanted to do some kind of house hacking. So I bought a condo. It had a couple rooms. I got a couple roommates, and it only took me a couple of weeks of living on my own, which I found out I'm not very good at, that I wanted to get a roommate, real fast. And just so happened that where I worked, one of my best friends from earlier years, mothers worked there, and we were just talking about how I bought a place, and well, her son really needed a place to move out of her house. He was ready to go, so I called him up. He came over on a Friday night, and he moved in the next Friday. It was that quick, and we got to chit chatting about what he does, and I learned he's a carpenter, and I go, wait a minute, this is going to work out. So I go, hey, if I can get us the funding, if I can figure out that piece, could you help us flip a house? And he's, well, sure. So we hopped on auctions. We were on Zillow. And this was before I was a realtor, so I didn't have access to my or anything like that, or the MLS. So we were looking all over the place, and we found an off-market house for nothing, for like 20 grand, that had been in a flood and was trashed and all the above. So we went in, we bought it, and again, in the evenings and on the weekends, tore it down to nothing, started over, rebuilt it, and rented it out using the Burr method to get all of our cash back. And that became the start of it all. I went, okay, we can do this. So just he and I, for the next couple of years, we did another house or two. I learned a lot more through him. He pretty much taught me everything that I know. And that's from carpentry to plumbing to electric to, we don't do drywall. We don't touch that stuff. That's for the pros. That's an art. But, put on a new roof, driveway, concrete work, all the above. So he taught me all of that stuff. And we just continued to roll. We'd find a new place, we'd buy it, we'd rent it out. We'd find a new place, we'd buy it, we'd flip it, whatever it might be. All part-time, because I needed a, quote unquote day job to get the bills paid, and then to build up a fund to go buy these homes with. So, and I think that's how a lot of hustlers will call it, get started, is it just takes a lot. So, we did that 4 or 5 years, and then we found a piece of property, decided to build from the ground up, because what we determined was rentals can be a hassle if they're old. If you've got an old water heater, if you've got old appliances, if you've got an old, whatever it might be, if it's old, you're going to get a phone call about something. So if you go in and you just scrape it all clean and start over, the phone calls went down fast. And I really liked that. And he really liked that. It got rid of the biggest hurdle outside of tenants, but the biggest hurdle that you get with landlording. So we decided, okay, let's build these duplexes from the ground up and see what happens. I probably won't do that again. That was a huge strain on me mentally, physically, energy, relationships. I mean, we spent all evening and then all day on the weekends there. I mean, we didn't do anything else for about 1.5 years.
Wow.
So it was a lot. Am I glad that I did it? Absolutely. Would I recommend to other people do it that way? I don't know. I don't know that I would. It took a lot to get done. But I learned a ton. I mean, you can't go to school any faster than that. It was like drinking out of a fire hydrant. I mean, we learned how to do everything, and because we built two duplexes, we learned how to do everything 4 times.
Right.
So it's immediate, learn how to do it once, mess it up once, now you got it, So it was good practice, good teaching. And after we got that project done, I think we did another house or two. And that's about the time I started running into Tom and said, okay, I've got the wherewithal from the marketing standpoint. I think we can get it done from a contracting standpoint. If I need to go get some jobs done, let's make the jump. And I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I lose track of time. It goes pretty quick when you work a lot. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago or so, made the jump and started working with Tom full time, partnered up, and we've definitely altered our model since then. Getting away from the physical hammer swinging, is what we call it, and getting into the more concierge position, where we're training people, training professionals, teaching clients how to do this whole thing. So it was really nice. And in any job, you got to start at the bottom, and you got to figure out what it really takes to get that stuff done before you go tell somebody else to do it. So it was really good to start at the bottom with a pouch on my hip, carrying floor up X amount of flights of stairs. So when I go and ask a contractor to do something, or they give me a price for something or whatever it might be, I know exactly what it takes to get that job done, what they have to go through, what someone on their team has to go through to get it done. So it really gives us a good starting point to say, yeah, we can, not only do we know how to get it done, we know a guy that can get it done, or we can do it ourselves. One of the two. So yeah, that's how it all went down. And it's been the last 5-6 years have been like, bam, gone. It's gone really, really fast, but learned a lot, and it's been exciting. That's for sure.
There's never a dull moment. That's a good deal. So economics in college, and from polling different people, the main response was real estate.
Yep.
And is that when you decided, okay, let me take a look at Rich Dad Poor Dad, or was it kind of somewhere in between there?
Well, I'm sure you've heard of Bigger Pockets Forum.
Yes.
So I started researching and trying to figure out where in the real estate world to jump in, so to speak, because there's 100 different places. Go be the realtor, go be a wholesaler, go be a contractor. There's a number of different places to start out. So I started doing some research, and Bigger Pockets kept popping up over and over and over and over again as where my answers were coming from. So then I hopped in the forum, started reading a little bit more, and I don't remember when they started their podcast, but I think I was in their forums before the podcast had actually started. I'd have to look and see. But I remember seeing, what books to read, because I think they had a book list at that time, this many years ago, recommended real estate books. And one that everybody kept suggesting was Rich Dad Poor Dad. There were another couple, Millionaire Next Door, I think was one, Real Estate Investing, something. I mean, there were a couple that really popped up at the top. And I go, okay, let's start with the one that everybody keeps suggesting that we read. And I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and was like complete mind shift. It really opened me up to, okay, this real estate thing can do it. Let's see what happens. At the time, I was also reading books like, what was it? Think and Grow Fast, or Think Slow and Grow Fast, or something like that. And then, the 4-Hour Work Week, and, books along those lines of like, okay, how do we become as efficient as possible? Yada, yada, yada. All of those gave me good tips and tricks, but Rich Dad Poor Dad was like, that's how you do it. This is what we need to do. So I read that book, and it made me start leaning in that direction of, okay, how do we make our money work for us? How do we own some property? How do we own some real estate, some assets that are going to make money for us as we sleep? I mean, I think that's kind of the general idea of the Rich Dad Poor book, is spend your money on things that are going to make you money, if you want to really boil it down to a sentence. And I knew it was going to be in the real estate space. And then as the Bigger Pockets podcast came out, they started, one of their questions that they ask everyone on the podcast is I think it's list your number one real estate book. And for the first 100 podcasts, I think 90 of the podcasts, the people said Rich Dad Poor Dad. So it's been a super influential book in the real estate space, and entrepreneurs coming up, at least over the last 5 or 6 years. I don't know, you probably look it up. I don't know how many of their now, I think they have 500 podcasts now. They ask that question every time. And I'll bet you over half of those people say Rich Dad Poor Dad is one of the best real estate books that got them, meandering down the path of buying property and holding property.
Yeah, I think Robert did a great job of showing the two different mindsets, and by being able to compare and contrast right there in one space, that the like you said, that light bulb went off, the gear started turning. You're like, wait a minute, okay.
That
So
sounds good.
and it's not like his poor dad, his actual biological father was actually poor, but
Right.
it was more so of a mindset. He
Uh-huh.
made good money, but what he did with that money, how he thought about money, things of that nature, is, in my opinion, what really um, just like blew my mind away. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so okay, all right. And then one of the other things he mentioned was how Monopoly, was like a a a good situation. It's amazing how much you can learn from Monopoly when you don't even realize that you're learning.
Mhm.
And I tell folks, like, really look back at what that game is teaching you. You're buying raw land, and then with that raw land, you're now developing the raw land by putting that house on there. And then
Mhm.
you're putting multiple properties on there. And then you knock those down for higher and better use and put that red hotel on there. So,
Right.
but if no one takes the time to really break down what you just experienced and put it in layman's terms, put it in something that's actually receivable, you don't really understand what you just learned.
No.
And yeah, so between Rich Dad Poor Dad and Monopoly, like, those are really um, eye-opening situations.
Right. Well, and it's funny you bring up Monopoly, and if my mother watches this and gets this far through, she's going to get a laugh out of this. Um, we played Monopoly all the time growing up. It just happened to be one of my favorite games.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it. I was so anal about playing that game that I would roll for other people. I would help them move their tokens around, draw their cards, tell them how much money who owed who, because I was just like, I was fixated into that game for whatever reason. Don't know why.
Hmm.
And I mean, it'd get to the point, and my mom brings this up all the time. It'd get to the point where if things weren't going my way because of a luck standpoint, it was just out of my control. I rolled too many of the wrong X, landed on the wrong stuff. I would lose my mind and like stomp away from the board in tears
Oh,
because
wow.
I could not handle that. It was out of my control, wasn't working out for me at the time. I know it should work. I know based on all the moves I've played, this should be working out well, and it's not. And I would get so engrossed in that game that I'd lose. And this is when I was, you know, what, 5, 6, 7 years old. So I don't know that I would stomp away and cry from a game at this point. But I would still get into it pretty deep. Yeah, so it's always been a game that I loved growing up. And I think it's I never really thought about it until you just brought it up that was definitely a precursor.
Of what you're doing right now.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. It's never
Absolutely.
really clicked, but wow, wow.
Yep. And I would say, you going through that experience and even the stomping and walking off, that in a sense prepares you for building those two duplexes, or the two duplexes twice.
For
So
sure, because I was lucky enough that my parents would say, "Cut it out,
mhm.
come back, sit down. We're going to finish this game." And that made me come back, sit down. Okay, regroup. When things don't work out, we got to regroup. What are we going to do? And every once in a while, I would come back and win.
There you go.
And when that happens, I think that really reinforced stick with it, keep pushing. Things are not going to go your way most of the time, more than likely.
Mhm.
But the more at bats you give yourself, the more you try, the more you stick in there and stick with it. Uh, More often than not, you're going to find that you can find a way to persevere and move on. So fortunately, I had the parents that would grab me by the back of the neck and say, "You set your butt back down in this chair.
Mhm.
We're going to finish this game." And
Absolutely.
yeah, I think to your point, you're right. It kind of prepared me for, at least if it was a small lesson at the time, uh, for the rest of life and what I'm doing now. So yeah, yeah, cool. I hadn't really considered that until right now. Kind of neat.
Shout out to mom and dad,
Yep.
for pulling you back in and not letting you run off and create a habit of that actually.
Right.
That's not the habit that you want to have. You want to
Absolutely
be
not.
able to finish. You want to be able to push through whatever situation you're going through and complete it. It might not be the ideal situation, but learning that lesson early, I think definitely is more beneficial than that. So
Right.
yes,
Right.
kudos to them.
For
Uh,
sure. For sure.
absolutely. So I saw a couple things on Facebook. Well, not Facebook, but IG, and it definitely looks like freshly cut tree, but in the shape of a table, in the shape of a chair or bench. Can you talk a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah. And it's funny. That's another one that the building the duplexes taught me. Um, the first couple projects that I worked on, the property that we bought to build the duplexes had a giant cedar tree on,
Mm-hmm.
and so we had to cut down, and I think like a leftover 8, maybe 9 foot stump, or not stump, but section of this tree was left over, and just sat there on the side of the property forever until finally I was like, all right, guys, maybe I can make something cool out of that one day. People are doing this live edge stuff. This was like 5 years ago, when the live edge 4 years ago, when the live edge stuff started really coming into it. And I go, maybe I'll figure out something to do with that one of these days. So we drug it back from the property. I threw it on the side of the road at my house. It just sat in a dead end for like a year and a half. And finally I decided, okay, let's do something with this. So I had to buy a chainsaw and a mill for the chainsaw, like a little connection. And I started cutting these big long slabs out of the cedar wood. My grandfather was a carpenter. His father was a carpenter, on both sides of my family. So there's been a lot of carpentry and then just MacGyverism, if that's a term. A lot of just get it figured out kind of stuff going on. So a combination of that just kind of being in my blood, me being interested in it, and my wife going, wouldn't this be cool? Made me go, okay, let's go ahead and get started on this thing and see. So ripped them into a couple slabs, just totally winging it. Figured out how to get them planed, not the right way, but got it done. Spent hours and hours when it could have been 15, 20 minutes because I was using my shop and what I had on me at the time. Got them finished, put legs on them, and it was like, here you go. This is what it turned into. So we had one in our house, and people kept coming over and saying, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Where did you guys get that? I said, well, from my garage. Something I've just been tinkering on over the last, thinking about over the last couple of years, and finally decided to do. And they go, well, could you make me one? And I'd say, could. Not really what I'm doing it for, but if I make something that you end up liking, I would probably sell it to you. So I never I never have, and never, I never say never. I haven't, and probably won't take custom orders, so to speak, to build stuff. But it's something that I really enjoy doing for myself. I'm pretty ate up by work. When you're an entrepreneur, there's always work to be done.
Yep.
At all times. It never stops. So outside of exercise and some outdoor stuff with the kids or with the kid and wife, one of the ways I get away and kind of get out of my head is in my wood shop. So if I make something that's cool and somebody wants to buy it, sure, you can have it. I'm not making them for any specific reason or purpose or use. I'm just looking at it. That's what it could be. Make it cool. Somebody inevitably ends up wanting it, even if it's for significantly less than what I'd like to give it away for. So I just enjoy it. It's a good way for me to get out of my headspace, get into flow. It's definitely a way for me to get into flow and really focus. I mean, I can lose hours in my workshop. They absolutely disappear. So yeah, I think I just enjoy it. And then actually the barnwood, I made a couple of barnwood tables that we ripped a bunch of barnwood out of someone's house. They had a flood, the bottom like 6 inches of a whole basement's worth of barnwood got wrecked. molded, ruined. So I said, hey, throw those on my trailer when we're pulling them out. So I went through, cut the bottom off every single one, planed them, and now they're awesome barnwood pieces. And I've built tables and doors and other stuff with them. So the job has given me all of my material. Now that I think about it, the one came from the duplexes. The other one comes from barnwood, came from this job. And then I think I've milled a little bit out in the woods to pull some stuff out. But for the most part, most of what I've gotten has been recycled off job sites, and allowed me to just kind of play, so to speak. That's my form of relaxing.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Definitely great pieces that I've seen.
Well, thank you.
For those who you don't plan on creating them, per order, but if you make some and someone's interested, I think those are some definitely great pieces.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
So Clayton, for folks who are looking for you and Tom and looking to get that one-stop shop concierge, roll out the red carpet treatment, where can they go to find you?
Best place can be Makeover Homes, www.makeover-homes.com. From there, you're going to find a text that's actually my direct number, a phone call that's Tom's direct number. You're going to find our Instagram page on the bottom. We've got Instagram and Facebook that you can look up. We've also got YouTube page where we have a lot of our educational stuff, teaching clients how to shop properly, teaching contractors how to put their bid in the proper format for lenders. I mean, like I told you, one of our big things, education. So on YouTube, you can find all kinds of videos that we've put together, old projects, walkthroughs of homes. But you can pretty much get to anywhere from our website.
Okay. And information for the most part, especially as far as the 203K space, pretty much translates or transfers regardless of what area you're in. But as far as you guys' main coverage, where would that be at the moment?
Our main coverage is going to be Central Indiana and the surrounding, 4 states. We have the ability to go into all of the states from a HUD standpoint, because you actually have to be certified per state, as opposed to nationally. There's no option for that. And you're only allowed 5 states per HUD consultant. So we can physically go into Indiana and the surrounding 4 states. But like I told you before, we're kind of in beta on sourcing this out to other states. We currently have a client in New York. We currently have a client in Texas, because our databases span further than just the Midwest and surrounding states. We have databases of national HUD consultants, national contractors, and then national realtors. So it may take a little bit more time. If you're outside of our Midwest area, it may be a little bit slower process, but we can find a way to get it done.
Good deal. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on to the platform and sharing all the great things that you guys are doing as far as making the process from A to Z, an enjoyable one, a stress-less one.
Yeah.
And, jumping in and wearing that cape to save folks who are going through the process and hit some road bumps due to certain individuals who may not be as experienced or knowledgeable, or just the quality isn't there, right, with those particular people. So definitely for those folks who you've helped, I'm sure they've told you thank you, but I thank you guys as well, because we need more people out here who are doing what you guys are doing. So again, thanks for being on the show. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Not a problem. And we will be in contact. So you guys, that's all I got for you today. Thank you for watching, and see you the next 203K Tuesday.
Awesome. Thanks, sir.
Not a problem.
Bye.